Hey everybody, let's get going. All right, well, hope we're all having a great morning. It's always a great morning when you wake up, right? All right, let's just wait for a few people and we'll get into this. All right. All right, we got some people coming on. Awesome. All right, so I did this is 91 and a half. It just yesterday I made a 92, but I didn't like it. I took it down and decided today, after hearing some information, that I'm going to do another one. It's not really episode 92. We're just going to make it 91 and a half, and then 92 will be a full episode. It's been a little crazy this week with the storm and the impending doom that never happened. So the question is karate BS? Is traditional, I'm not going to say traditional because tradition is something you start. Classical martial arts, are they nonsense? And I've been talking with my staff, and I have a Tang Soo background. And Tang Soo at one point, I even say this about Taekwondo, very effective, straight, rudimentary art. In Tang Soo, excuse me, it was all about proper hand movements, head movements, body. Very much a mix of Western boxing with a lot of Korean kicking. The history is it was Taekwon, foot fighting, and it was interesting because when I started Tang Soo Do in the late 80s, we had a high stance, like a boxing stance. So our hands were here versus traditional karate or classical karate had it here. There were some Tang Soo Do guys who did this, but by the time I was training in it, it was very adaptive. And you go back to the 50s, their hands were high, like in a boxing style stance. So they've been incorporating Western influences into Eastern martial arts for years. It's nothing new. It didn't get started in the 90s. Actually, it's been going on for a long, long time. If you go back, there's no such thing as styles before 1940 or 1930 because Shotokan was probably one of the first documented styles of karate, and that was early 1900s. And then in the 1940s, post World War II, all the styles of Korean martial arts started popping up, and you see Japanese systems. And China, until the early 1900s, they didn't really name systems. It was really just a person's personal style, so they would name it after the person, but actually calling it a style didn't exist until almost the 20th century. So the concept of styles being thousands or hundreds of years old is actually nonsense. And there were challenge matches between different styles of martial art from Europe to Asia. We know about this because Bartitsu, Savat, they all existed, and Bartitsu was the first documented blend of Western and Eastern cultures, fighting systems in Europe. So that's been going on for a long time. In American history, when wrestling was actually real catch wrestling, not the sensationalized stuff today, Gotch and all those guys, that was real fighting, and it was MMA. Bare knuckle boxing. Bare knuckle boxing included knee strikes, it included elbows. So that has been around forever. It's nothing new. So is it nonsense, though, the classical karates? I'm not going to say completely, because there are techniques there. If you go back to the earliest forms of these martial arts, when it was all about the fight and all about safety, all about character building, it was all about that. But it was less about the curriculum. It was more about what works and how does this help this person. Because not everything is meant for everybody. And there will be times like, this person is not a great kicker, so we're not going to focus on that kicking for them. We're going to focus on what their strengths are, because you're not going to be strong in every area. This person's not great at distance fighting, and they used to say, we're going to focus on his inside fighting because that's where that person is best at. We're going to help him improve in the other areas for sure. This person's great at rolling around and taking people down. He's got great center of gravity. She can throw somebody very easily. not great at their fighting and hitting. So we're going to have to focus on that. But this is their strength. We're going to strengthen that as well. You see, that's what's missing. For years, it became too codified. And I think like by the time I started training, that was actually starting to come into existence, where they completely codified, closed their doors, and they were less open-minded. And if you talk to somebody from another school, within reason, I mean, if it's someone that's a direct competitor, you don't want to do that. But because you had a friend who was this style and they were far away, you never talked to them, because no, they're not your friend. They're not us. They're not Tangsudo. So then the system didn't grow. Now, the thing with martial arts that people forget is they evolved. Okay, so we used to use spears and flails. We don't do that anymore. You know, we don't walk around town with a flail. It just doesn't happen. You know, so the weaponry changed. Then it became guns. Then it became, you know, closer quarter fighting. When you got to World War II, even the Chinese martial arts adapted to infighting in alleys and stuff, because it was not practical. Battlefield fighting doesn't exist that way anymore. But we forgot about that. So now we are in the modern world, and we have a lot of people who know how to fight now. They do. You know, they watch YouTube. They maybe did classes before, but they weren't really a fit for that studio, and they're kind of not good people, and they have using it for bad things. Now you got somebody who knows how to fight. And if you got somebody who's been a couple street brawls, you know, they may not have great technique, but they can hurt you. So now, does the other stuff apply? Well, I think if you're using the rudimentary skills, like hands up, hit, punch, kick, basic stuff in the beginning, and not worrying about what the art is going to be, because the art will evolve with the student as they progress. Give them what they can handle now and make them good at it, and they're going to be exceptional. But if you try and throw like everything in the kitchen sink and hope they're going to learn all this stuff, well, they're not going to have any skills. It's just not going to happen. And then something bad is going to happen. So I bring this up because I have somebody who's been messaging me, and I'm not going to mention the school, okay? But it's a school not directly in our area, but nearby. And this gentleman, I guess, has been training there for a while. And I won't mention the style because that's not the whole point. But it's a classical style. And he's been there for a while. And he's even done tournaments, he said. And he got jumped by 3 guys and beaten up. And we said, well, first, we're sorry about that. Second, it's very hard to fight one person. So 3-on-1, there's no martial arts going to teach you how to fight 3 people at once like a movie. That's choreography. You're going to fight, evade, and get away. That's what we teach you. And he understood that. And I guess he's disappointed in his school. And I'm not going to say the school's a problem, the style's a problem. That's not the point. But I would ask, how did this guy get into a bad situation? Okay. If it was meritable, like he was just trying to get home, he's coming late from work. Okay. Now he's in a bad situation. What failed, and how am I going to make that better for him? See, me, I would say, I am sorry that happened. You know, if I see there's some legit reason why it shouldn't have happened, I said, come on, I'm going to work out with you. We got to fix this. And help his confidence get better. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, your style sucks. You went to the wrong school, and that was horrible. It could be. It could be. But that's not the right way to approach it. So I told him I didn't have anything that could work for him. But we did mention to him, like, you know, Eddie had a very similar situation happen to him about a year ago. Exactly a year ago, actually. He got jumped by 3 guys, but he was more aware. He knew something was wrong when they cut him off and 2 people approached him, and he was on his bike, and he said, I didn't think about what was happening, but they were reaching for me. I pulled my hip back. He couldn't grab my buds. He threw a punch at me, and he grazed me, but he didn't hit me. And I said, well, that's all that training, Eddie. You know, the movement, the body movement, head back. You know, they got frustrated. They couldn't touch you. That's what happens. They go for a sucker punch, and when he couldn't touch you and you didn't get hurt, and you were too much of a problem for them. They want you to be weak and not do anything. And he got away, which was the right thing to do. And I told Eddie at that time, do not engage more than 1 person in a fight. It's impossible. No matter how good you are. I don't care what these people say. There's no way. There's no way. You're going to get hit, hurt, and then you're going to get pummeled because it collapsed on you. So we explained that to this guy. and I hope he can work it out with his school. But the question, is it all BS? I think today the current state of classical arts are not applicable to the modern world. I don't think they didn't have a correct children's curriculum. So we have to revitalize that. We have to revisit and say, and I even just redid my whole curriculum because I wanted it to be reflective of what I think each age group should do. And I made it tailored so that when kids are 5 or 6 and when they age out, they're hitting a certain belt level at 7 and 9, and they're at a certain skill level that they'll integrate smoothly. Same with those 7 and 9s into the teen program, and then those teens, when they hit 15, 16, they go to the adult hybrid program. It's all tailored to that. And I think the problem is classical martial arts, they teach one curriculum to everybody, and it's way too hard for 5-year-olds, but it's not quite challenging enough for your middle age group, your like 9s through teenagers, and then for your adults, it's just not what they need. And that's the point. Do we give them what they need? Adults need something different than kids. Kids need something different from younger kids. And that's what I think is the nonsense. If you're teaching one way to all groups of people, there's no way you're going to get an appropriate message to everybody. But if you teach the correct curriculum to the correct people, the correct way, and you watch what their skill levels are and work on their deficiencies and then strengthen their strengths, that's what real martial arts is about. It doesn't matter the style or whatever you teach. So when I broke away from Tang Soo Do and they told me all these nasty things over 10 years ago, that I was not fit to drink the fountain of knowledge of the founder and I was going to be a fish climbing up a tree, I said, well, fine. I'll be a fish swimming up a tree. Who cares? But I'll be happy and spiritually enriched my own way than you can provide for me. So that's the point of the video, and that's why I made it 91.5 versus 92 or 93. So that's it. Thanks for listening to me, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Let's keep it kicking.